Episode 51. Was JFK's assassination a government inside job? Welcome back to the Conspiracy Theory Analyst. I'm Robin. November 22, 1963. Dallas, Texas. A motorcade moves through Dealey Plaza in bright afternoon sun. 3 shots ring out. President John F. Kennedy slumps forward. Within the hour, the most powerful leader in the world is dead. What followed was not just grief. It was 60 years of questions that have never fully been answered. Harvey Oswald, a former Marine who defected to the Soviet Union and returned to the United States, was arrested within hours. 2 days later, before he could stand trial, he was shot dead on live television by a nightclub owner named Jack Ruby. The main witness, silenced in public, in front of cameras, before he said a word in court. For millions of people, that sequence of events has never added up. Tonight we examine the case, what the official record says, what the conspiracy theories claim, and what decades of declassified documents have and have not revealed. Detailed explanation: the Warren Commission, established 1 week after the assassination by President Lyndon B. Johnson, spent 10 months investigating the killing. Its conclusion: Harvey Oswald acted alone, firing 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. One bullet, the so-called magic bullet, was said to have changed direction multiple times, passing through Kennedy and wounding Texas Governor John Connally, who was seated in front of him. Critics called that explanation physically impossible. Supporters called it misunderstood ballistics. In 1978, a second major investigation reached a different conclusion. The House Select Committee on Assassinations, after reviewing acoustic evidence from police radio recordings, concluded that President Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy, and that a second shot was fired from the grassy knoll, a raised area to the right of the motorcade. The committee could not identify who the second gunman was or the full extent of the conspiracy. That acoustic evidence was later disputed, and some committee members distanced themselves from the findings. But the word conspiracy had now appeared in an official government report. In March 2025, the Trump administration released thousands of additional pages of declassified files. They revealed extensive details about CIA operations during the Cold War, confirmed that Oswald had visited both the Soviet and Cuban embassies in Mexico City just weeks before the assassination, and showed that the CIA's monitoring of Oswald during that trip was far more extensive than previously known. What they did not produce was a smoking gun. Core elements of the conspiracy: the first element is the magic bullet. The single bullet theory requires one projectile to have entered Kennedy's back, exited his throat, entered Connally's back, exited his chest, passed through his wrist, and lodged in his thigh, all while changing direction and emerging in near pristine condition. For many, the physics simply do not hold. The second is Jack Ruby. Why would a nightclub owner with known connections to organized crime choose to shoot the accused assassin during a police transfer, in front of cameras, ensuring Oswald would never speak publicly? Ruby claimed he acted out of grief for Jackie Kennedy. He died in prison before his second trial. The third is the grassy knoll. Multiple witnesses in Dealey Plaza reported hearing shots from the front right, not from behind. Some ran toward the knoll. A photograph known as the Badgeman photo appears to show a figure behind the fence on the knoll, though its authenticity has been heavily debated. The fourth is CIA knowledge. The 2025 document releases confirmed that the CIA was monitoring Oswald extensively before the assassination. Critics ask, if intelligence agencies were watching him that closely, how did the assassination happen? And why did certain files remain classified for over 60 years? The fifth is Oswald himself. He denied shooting anyone. His background: a Marine who defected to the Soviet Union, then returned, then was monitored by the CIA, is unusual. Some theories position him not as the assassin, but as a patsy, deliberately placed at the scene. Evidence for and against the evidence supporting conspiracy is significant in scope. A congressional investigation concluded conspiracy was probable. Multiple witnesses reported shots from multiple directions. Oswald's background and connections raise questions that the Warren Commission did not fully resolve. Jack Ruby's actions remain difficult to explain through coincidence alone, and the decades-long classification of documents fueled the widespread belief that something was being hidden. The 2025 releases confirmed that intelligence agencies had far more involvement with Oswald before the assassination than they initially admitted. While this does not prove conspiracy, it demonstrates that the original investigation operated with incomplete information. The evidence for the official account is also substantial. Forensic analysis has consistently supported the single-shooter conclusion. Multiple independent reviews of the physical evidence, the bullet trajectories, the wounds, the rifle, have found them consistent with the Warren Commission's account. The acoustic evidence that led the House committee to conclude conspiracy was subsequently reviewed by the National Academy of Sciences, which found it unreliable. No credible second gunman has ever been identified. No deathbed confession from a credible insider has ever emerged. Arguments in favor believers argue that the convergence of strange circumstances, the magic bullet, Ruby's intervention, Oswald's death, the CIA's hidden knowledge, the decades of classified files, cannot all be coincidence. They point to the political climate of 1963. Kennedy had made powerful enemies. He was in conflict with the CIA over the Bay of Pigs disaster. He was navigating tensions with the military over Vietnam. He had made overtures toward ending the Cold War. The incentive for powerful actors to remove him, they argue, was real and documented. They also point to polls. Decades of surveys have consistently shown that the majority of Americans do not believe Oswald acted alone. That level of sustained public doubt, they argue, reflects something beyond mere distrust. Arguments against skeptics point out that conspiracy requires coordination, silence, and sustained secrecy across decades, involving hundreds of individuals across law enforcement, intelligence, and medicine. In practice, major conspiracies tend to leak. This one, if it exists, has held for over 60 years without a single credible insider breaking cover. They also argue that the desire for a meaningful explanation is itself a psychological factor. Kennedy's death was enormous. The idea that one unstable man with a mail-order rifle changed the course of history feels insufficient. But insufficient does not mean untrue. History is full of consequential acts by lone individuals. Public opinion and broader impact, the Kennedy assassination did something to public trust that has never fully healed. It was the moment, many historians argue, when Americans first began to seriously distrust their government's official narratives. The delayed release of documents, spanning decades and multiple administrations, confirmed in many minds that something was being protected. The 2025 releases, while revealing, did not close the case. Researchers noted that key CIA files remained redacted. The question of what Oswald was doing in Mexico City and who he met there remains only partially answered. Conclusion: so was JFK's assassination a government inside job? Here is what we know. Lee Harvey Oswald fired at the president. Whether he acted alone remains, officially, an open question, one that a congressional investigation answered with the word conspiracy, and that 60 years of declassified documents have not fully resolved. For believers, the truth was buried along with Kennedy, protected by powerful interests that had every reason to ensure it stayed hidden. For skeptics, the evidence points to one man, one rifle, and a nation that found the simplest explanation the hardest to accept. What is beyond dispute is this: the investigation was flawed, the documents were withheld for decades, and the questions have outlasted everyone who was there. This is the Conspiracy Theory Analyst. I'm Robin. If tonight's episode made you think, please rate and follow on Spotify. Tomorrow on the Conspiracy Theory Analyst, has AI already become conscious? And are they hiding it? That's next.